for the introduction, but today I'm not the moderator. We have a beautiful, wonderful, professional moderator with us. Mohammed, please, your mic.
Thank you very much for handing over to me. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being with us this late. And we will move straight to our distinguished guests. I think we have Brandy to join us, and then we will move on to this intro part. So we are talking about Metaverse. There has been a lot of other discussions on the Metaverse. So we move on to the introduction part. My name is Mohammed Salman Anjum. I'm the CEO of MateSoul. We definitely are involved in the Metaverse, putting the government entities on Metaverse, and plus bringing their service centers, connectivity with the citizens, businesses on Metaverse. So with that, I'll ask my distinguished guests to give you guys a brief intro, and from that point onwards, we get into the discussion of Metaverse, its insights, its trends, and so on and so forth. Michael.
Thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Michael. I'm the head of sales and partner of Metaverse Architects. We are a design, development, and architectural studio located in Europe, and very happy to announce that we'll be moving to the UAE over the next few weeks.
Fiona.
Thank you. A little bit of introduction you already heard. I'm Alena Yudina. I'm based in Switzerland, and I'm a professional business developer in technical sales, which is quite a specifics. And we will talk today how the metaverse space helps us to scale it up, really.
Hani.
Thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Hani Sayed. I'm Director of Innovation of DMB Group. So I represent the prop tech industry. Thanks.
So we have few audience interested in Hani. Yes,
Good
please.
job. Hi, I'm Pico Velasquez. I am the CEO of Vera, architect and mathematician. Previously worked on big physical architecture projects like the Google headquarters, Cirque du Soleil, Hard Rock Casino and Hotel, and then went into video gaming, and now the intersection or the integration of physical architecture and Web3.
Wonderful. Brandy.
Great. Thank you for being here. My name is Brandy Vale. I'm the CMO for Visa Games Guild. We are a DAO helping to upskill the youth. We are focusing on ed tech. We are changing the face of play to earn to play and earn to learn to earn. So I'll be talking about the transition of what's happening in the metaverse, what's happening with NFTs, and how we're integrating that into our school and university programs.
Brandy, it was a pleasure hearing you yesterday, your keynote in another conference. So staying with you, and you are in the space of P2E. For those who are like fresh with the P2E, and in fact you are converting into not just play to earn, it's one step ahead. Please, if you can elaborate more about your project.
Absolutely. So I'll tell you a little bit about my background. I got started in this space of impact, but because my life had transitioned. And when I mean transitioned, I had to do good things in the world. My background is as a producer focused on Red Bull North America commercial B2B projects, but it never was education, because education just seemed that it was so far out of my reach as somebody who saw community being really my tribal home. So over the years, I developed this relationship, and it happened to be with cryptocurrencies. And when I saw the power of cryptocurrencies, I saw the power of community. I refer to community as common unity. And when we understand the power of community, it's not just about a relationship at home or at school. It's not the third place, it's not your work. It's truly with yourself. When you understand yourself, you can be a true leader. So I transitioned and I said, well, how can we get with institutions and organizations and help upskill and gamify our lives? So I moved into impact investing. I moved into impact investing in assets like NFTs. And then I moved into GameFi because this is where I believe we can have the rights to program and onboard more students. So, you know, at the end of the day, we have to upskill the youth,
Right.
and what a better way to do it.
Great. We move on to Pico. You're also part of the Metaverse projects. Can you express more about that one?
So the type of projects that we do in the metaverse is thinking of the metaverse a little bit more abstract and open than what we see right now. And it's that world building is definitely a component of it, and virtual experiences is definitely a component of it. But in essence, is anything that has to do with data tracking, and that data tracking can be visualized or not. So it could be two-dimensional, three-dimensional, or X-dimensional, as we call it. But essentially, it comes down to these shared virtual experiences, but that also have transactions, and of course, a community is also a big component that has to be designed, but can also be the tracking of supply chain or any other type of data that isn't necessarily visualized. And all of that together in correlation or integrated with the physical space is what's going to end up being the metaverse. It's not going to be just the digital or the virtual alone.
Perfect. Hani, we've been talking about the hype of the metaverse. What would be the ROI for enterprise or any other organization to be in the metaverse?
Great question. See, when we look into Metaverse now, Metaverse started like a few years back. But when you look into the history, this is a revolution. So Metaverse started when you look into, for example, internet connectivity, when we started with the dial-up, and then we had the servers, and then we had the cloud computing, and now we have the Metaverse. So this is a revolution. So the design thinking, we have to understand that we're going for a new era of digital life. It's not only about Metaverse, and it's not about a platform, it's not Facebook, it's not the VR or AR, this is a new digital life. So the idea is we need to understand where we're going, we need to understand how we can even invest in digital assets, so we have a higher return of our investments in our new digital life. So taking the entrepreneurship to the metaverse, that's completely different mindset. It's not about technology.
Absolutely, it's a completely different mindset. And also, you mentioned a little bit about the adoption. So what would be the adoption challenges, especially the mass adoption? Where do you see the bottlenecks?
Well, coming from the background point, I really like and absolutely adore education. I think Metaverse is one of the brilliant places to promote education into. I'm coming from the sales. I am selling technologies. And every single time when I do the sales pitch or speech, I have to explain over and over how technology works. What Metaverse gives us, it gives us a chance to visualize things. And within 30 seconds, you will understand that. And when you understand that, that's a part of education that comes for further adoption to your company or to any other business. So I am technically responsible for B2B part. So mass adoption for the business comes from understanding and education. Education, in my opinion, comes from visualization. Extra to that, Metaverse gives us a chance to be all together at the same space at the same time. So there are no more borders, there are no linguistic challenges, and it also adds on the whole ecosystem, like financial ecosystem. So whatever you want to do, you can learn, understand, buy, and transfer anywhere you want. So when educational part is in place, then the mass adoption comes very quickly.
Very much right. Change precedes the education part first. Michael, which industry or verticals do you think there will be a bigger impact for Metaverse?
So, I mean, in the short term, what we're seeing are mainly retail, casino, gamified solutions. Those are the clients we have seen over the past year, which seem to have the best return on their investment from a marketing and a financial perspective. Obviously, then in the long term, I think we'll talk about events, art, sports, those sort of industries which require lots of people to come together and see something all at once through a screen or something of the sort.
Good. And also, yes, as Brandy mentioned, EdTech could be a very perfect solution. So with that, we go back to you. And briefly, if you mentioned why you came into this space. Now you have this project, Visa Games Guild. Tell us more about it and how it will create the impact.
I love a Visa Games Guild. I have to say that because you have to love what you do. You have to be passionate about this project. You have to stick through the thick and the thin. So a Visa Games Guild is pivoting. You know, we focused on play to earn, but I'll simply say play to earn to me felt like a sweatshop at times. And even though we were helping poverty to prosperity, it still wasn't gravitating to the business model. You know, coming in, spending your money, gaming, taking your money, that is not an ecosystem that's going to work. So we went back to the drawing board and we said, how can we own our own assets? And how can we give the scholars these assets? And ultimately, our phase 2 will be about scholars, educators, and institutions fractionalizing their own NFTs on every project that they create. Now imagine if you are in university level or even high school level and own your project from the 9th grade. Think about that. For the life of that project, you'll have a return on your time, which is also an investment. Some of these kids, they would have never been able to have an asset or even know what an asset was, right? So we're changing the face of that, and I'm very, very proud of our team.
So we are also proud of your team, and we move on to you now. What about the ecosystem requires in the next couple of years for the adoption, and where do you see that in which geographic location you find that there will be more applications of Metaverse?
Could you repeat?
I said in next couple of years, where do you see this space of Metaverse evolving?
Yeah. So I mean, I think right now is mostly to understand like what got us to the metaverse, or what got us to the closest version of the metaverse that we have right now. And it's essentially a combination of video games, right? Social networks, so anything that has to do with global communities or the connection of global communities, and then communication networks, whether it's Zoom calls or Slack or whatever, but this idea that you can connect with multiple people globally at the same time. So all of these have been represented in different ways, and the convergence of this was mostly triggered or influenced by the fact that we couldn't leave our homes, and this was the new way of communicating, the new way of creating social environments. So the metaverse is continuously trying to go in that direction. I think that different industries are trying to adopt it in different ways. Of course, entertainment and media, especially when it comes to brands, are the first ones to embrace it because there's already a gaming culture that is shopping and that's spending $1 trillion of money in virtual assets. Therefore, all you have to do is just change your brand to going from something physical into a virtual asset. So the utility of that, or I guess the way to market that is pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. When it comes down to other types of activities or other types of industries, even in the entertainment space, including sports that you mentioned, what's going to happen is that it's thinking about like what is the actual purpose of having these virtual environments or these shared virtual environments. And it's not just going to be shopping. It's really about connecting in a different way. So what does it mean to connect in a different way? And what does it mean to have things that happen virtually, consistently, or simultaneously as they happen in the physical space? And instead of competing, how do they complement each other? So I think what we're going to see is that, or what we're mostly seeing is that media and entertainment are obviously going on the rise, but also smart cities are going in the rise. And the reason why smart cities are interested in this is because they're thinking on the long term or the big vision, right? Building out a city as an architect, it's a 10 to 20 year project, right? So you obviously have to think beforehand, and it's not just about of like the short-term gamification, right, or the short-term, I guess like the short-term economical aspect that you have, but thinking about in a city scale, what are the different infrastructures, or what are the different both the infrastructures, but also like what we would call like the integration of IoT, of Internet of Things, that's going to affect at that scale. So both from a city perspective and from a media perspective, I think those are the ones that are going to thrive the most. And I think educational in particular, what's interesting is that we already saw the initiations of that through Roblox. During COVID, most kids were socializing inside of video games, right? And Roblox, I mean, Fortnite as well, but Roblox, because of its flexibility, became the space where children were going to school and connecting with each other, including having like actual classes. So there's a lot of different ones that are going to evolve. Others, I think, may take a little bit longer. So like health, for example. Yeah. Because you're thinking what's going to happen afterwards. Right?
On this health point, it's a perfect question for Hani. You've been building something as a mental health clinic. So can you share more about that? How it is? Sorry, it's for the Michael. So we'll go to because it's the right connection here. Yeah. So tell us more about that project.
So we built the first psychology/mental health clinic in the Metaverse in partnership with Mind Easy from Canada. I mean, the idea is something which many people can relate to. It's a safe space whereby licensed psychologists and psychiatrists give professional advice to people who need it. As we know, there's a limited amount of quality psychologists in the world, therefore creating something like this can only facilitate growth of the industry. It's doing very well.
Wonderful. So it's a different use case than many other attempts.
It's something which we stand for as a company, truly.
Right. I will ask you a bit of a tough question. Many people are mixing Metaverse with the VR and also Web3. Can you elaborate our audience more about that? Where do you see the difference and how they can clearly define, okay, this is a Metaverse application, this is the Web3 application, and this is just a VR application, a 3D application?
Wow, what a question. This is quite a comprehensive question. Where is the difference between VR and Metaverse? As the previous panel was here on the Metaverse space, the definition of Metaverse at the moment is not quite defined. So in my opinion, and maybe the Metaverse architects can also support me on that, it gives us the perspective of VR plus. And what is this plus? It's immersive reality space, where we can be from different points of planet within different time zones all together, doing different things, but more than just talking, otherwise it would be like Skype or Zoom. So we could interact with certain objects which are placed there in the virtual reality certain space. Plus, there is extra layer, which is economy, and that's exactly where Web3 comes in the game. We have the whole token and blockchain layer behind, which helps to support whatever goes on in there. And that's actually, I think, what makes it very difficult for people who are not familiar with Web3 space to understand it. How does it work? Why the economy is different from real one? Why can't we use normal money? Like, let me pay with the credit card, right? But in fact, education, as I was saying before, helps, and putting it in different layers also helps. And I am absolute fan of visualization technologies, which it allows us to use when it comes to comprehensive use cases. So our company, MTech Metaverse, does visualization for different technologies, place it in the virtual reality, mixed reality space, if you want, or Metaverse, for other businesses to buy, understand, and interact further.
Right. With this, I think we are very much nearing to the end of our time. Hani, a last question with you, that which Metaverse project has given you oh, wow, this is something, a utility, something for my use case or for something for others? And I think we would be ending with this, that where do you see that, okay, this is the application and this is the way forward for the Metaverse?
I would say still in beta version. That was today morning, was SAP. So apart from Metaverse with applications and games and entertainment and ed tech, which is amazing use cases, there is a huge use cases is coming for real estate. So one of these use cases that was prototyped by SAP, they're building a foundation of a platform where you can simulate building a city, a complete city, like if we have a new area of Dubai. So when I do complete simulation in Metaverse, we can completely build the whole city with the whole facilities, with everything, with power consumption, with the capacity, planning, MAP, technology, infrastructure, transportation, aviation, literally everything in a simulation in Metaverse. And from there, you start connect with construction companies in the Metaverse. You send them RFPs in the Metaverse, and you assign smart contracts using Web3, and then you have digital payment, and then your customer experience. So you take a new idea from, let's think about it, we're building a new tower, a new fancy tower, or a new fancy city, or a new smart city. We took this from an idea stage to a customer experience, complete simulation that can take 3 to 6 months of building the simulation. But the funny story that you can literally bring it to truth. So you can deliver that in the Metaverse. And again, all vendors now are stepping in Metaverse. So all the technology providers, they have the foundation, they have the technology. But finding the use case, finding the right solution is a challenge.
Perfect. Nice timing. We are already now, time's up for us. Thank you indeed once again, all of you, and especially thanks to my panelists. I would appreciate if you can give us all a round of applause.
Oh, come on, guys, you can do better than that. Thank you so much to our wonderful panelists.